Hello and welcome to a brand new video. I'm in the doorway again because it's quite windy outside, so here I am. This last week was quite eventful for me. It was my birthday, amongst other things, which I went and celebrated with some friends at the beautiful Mamau Reservoir. Huge lake. I don't have any footage of the day, just a couple of photos because I lived the day in the moment. We enjoyed the lake. It was absolutely gorgeous. The water was fantastic. It was a beautiful, beautiful day. We went stand-up paddleboarding in the lake and it was just incredible. There's a beautiful cafe at the reservoir, at the dam, and there's also loads of other things that you could rent. There's kayaks as well and little pedal boats too amongst the supboards, and I loved it so much that I definitely think I need to get one myself so that I can do it more frequently. Besides my birthday, which was the highlight for me, there was a couple of other things that happened as well. One of which was that my car was towed, and that was a first for me. That was quite a stressful day for me, and the reason it was towed, it ended up being the battery, which I thought it would probably be, but they couldn't just change it here. They had to call a tow truck. The tow truck had to take it all the way to Castelo Branco, which is an hour away, and then sat there for a few hours because we arrived at lunchtime, of course, and everything here closes between 12 and 2. So I had to wait for the team to get back from lunch so that they could just change the car battery for me. It was a big mission, but the car is going really well again, so I'm happy for that. Another highlight of the week for me was that the walls got painted. I'm really excited about that because honestly, it looks like a brand new house. But whilst that was happening, I must have walked past one of the guys as they were doing something. I don't know what they had in their hand, but it was paint, plaster filler, dilutant. It was something, and unfortunately it got in my eye. I didn't think anything of it at the time, so only later that evening when my eye really reacted to this quite badly, I ended up in the ER. And again, I had to drive all the way to Castelo Branco because there is nothing closer in the area. So I basically had to drive with one eye to Castelo Branco at night, take myself to the ER. They were incredible. Thank goodness whatever fell into the white of my eye and not into the iris or pupil. So my eye was fine. They washed it out thoroughly for me, and I got some cortisone drops that I had to use for a week. The eye was very swollen for a week, but now the swelling has gone down. Everything is fine and my eye is fine. Thankfully. So an incredibly eventful week, but a good week nonetheless. So let me show you what's happened in the last week, on the renovation at least. In this video, I'll be showing you the beautiful renovation of the walls. The walls get painted, and I also do a little bit more grouting. Another little section done. This is Girl Meets Farm. And the final thing that happened was that I received the last of the wine that was owed to me from last year's harvest. There were still 21 liters that I was owed, and in the last week we also went to the winemaker to go and bottle the rest, well, the last 120 liters that were left from last year's harvest. So I got 21 liters of that. The winemaker takes half of everyone's contributions, so 21 liters was mine. I will say, because this was sitting much longer in the vat, it is a lot better than the previous batch. The previous batch of wine that I got, sadly, I just can't drink it. I can't get used to the taste. For me, personally, it tastes very yeasty, but and I can't get over the yeastiness of the taste, so I don't think it's a varietal thing. I think it's just the yeast that was just too much for me. And I've noticed that a lot of the homemade wine here in Portugal does taste very yeasty. I'm not sure if that's something that goes away or if that's just the way it goes. However, with these 21 liters that I received, they taste a lot better. The yeast is completely gone. However, it tastes like it's on the cusp of going off. So I think there's a fine balance between getting past the yeast stage, but getting it bottled before it gets to the stage where it's at now. Right now, the wine actually tastes a little bit Cab Savvy to me, but a Cab Sav almost on the verge of going to vinegar. So this is also not 100% ideal. I feel like we do need to just find the balance of where that middle ground sits. Can you believe that it is already time to harvest again? So in the next week, I'll be getting up super early again and getting to the harvest. Crazy. I also wanted to take some time, now that the walls are finished, or now at least that everything is painted on the old section of the structure, I wanted to share my thoughts about what's going to come up next for me. All the big things that I have planned. I actually sat and I made a calendar of things that needs to be done over the next couple of months. That I'll be sharing that with you at the end of the video as well. Before and the wall painting has gone really well today. It is the end of the first day and they're going to be here 2 days. I can't tell you how amazing it looks already, and it's just the primary coat for the most part. Let me show you what they've done. This is just the primary coat. Tomorrow I believe it's going to look even better. Isn't this incredible? I feel like I'm in a whole new house. Today they finished off and rounded off all the cornicing for me. So at the bottom, even the sections where the wall goes dippity dip, they made it look really good there. Really, really good. I'm so impressed. They even painted the little box, the little electrical box. So now the cornices look really well rounded off, and they've done the primary, because they put more glue or silicone below the cornices. They couldn't paint directly under that because that has to dry until tomorrow. So that will be painted again tomorrow. The ceiling has been finished off as well. Here where the guys put the flue through the wall, and this was all like really bad cement, a hole covered up. They plastered over that, refined the plastering over that, and look how incredible that looks. That looks so good. Oh my gosh, what else have they done? Oh, let me show you this. So my door, I didn't know what I was going to do around the door frame because it was still just the foam that was put around the door. So they cut the foam off nicely for me, and then they added, it's called Massafino. It's basically a really fine cement type, I think, something. Anyway, they have rounded off the door frame so beautifully for me. I can't believe it. It looks so good. It's like it's always been that way. This is just incredible. I'm so happy with how this has come out. Tomorrow they will be removing the spare cylinder. I've been removing the water today and tapping the water out so that it'll be lighter for them to remove. They're going to remove that for me tomorrow because although this one works now, I no longer need it because the technician came 3 months after I needed the hot water. So that is kind of a extra now for me. And then they're going to be finishing off this wall for me as well. Painting that really nicely. Incredible. Oh, they must still paint the front of those for me. And then of course the rest of that wall. And then the prime coat is on. And then tomorrow everything is going to get another once over. So let's just do a quick around the room. It's a brand new house. And yeah, it's the end of the second day. Unfortunately, I wasn't here all day because there was a problem with my car's battery. So it was a huge mission. I've literally been away from the house since 11 o'clock this morning. It is now 5 p.m. and I've just gotten back. It was a whole day's mission to try and get a new battery for the car, working with insurance and stuff like that. But regardless, getting home was a really good surprise. It's like I have a whole new house. Let me show you. Everything is now painted. These little boxes, these old troughs in the passageway, the walls, the old cylinder is down. They fixed that up and painted over that. They even painted the pipes, the water pipes. But yeah, so this is the after. And looking up to the ceiling. It looks so good. Now that the renovation of the old side of the structure has progressed a little bit more, and I've got the electrics in, and I've painted the ceiling, and the walls are painted, this side feels a lot more livable for me. So I can live with the floor not being tiled. I can live with the concrete floor as it is if I need to for a little bit longer. But because I've also spent quite a bit of money on getting the ceiling and the walls painted, not only because I paid for the labor, but paint is quite expensive. So I spent quite a bit of money last month on just getting this side painted and paying for the labor. Moving forward, I had to make a list of the big things that I still need to do, the things that I can't necessarily do myself and that I will definitely need to pay people to come and do. Well, not all of them necessarily, but, or maybe all of them. Well, not all of them, but there's 3 big things coming up that I will need that kind of budget for. So, or that I will need help for. So I've needed to start looking at a budget and trying to see what is more urgent to do than the others. I'm trying to prioritize the urgency of things that will make my life a little bit more comfortable. I'm trying to get as much done before winter because once the rainy season hits, it's very rainy and it's very unpleasant to do anything outside, so I can continue with doing work inside when it does rain. So the 3 big things for me that need to happen, and I had to make a list, of course, and I'm sure everything is not on this list, but I just wanted to try and see when I can prioritize for things, and of course budget for those things as well. So the guy that actually ran the painting team, I was having a conversation with him, and randomly it ended up that he's actually happens to be a civil engineer. I was asking him if he knew anyone that was a civil engineer that could possibly help me with my septic situation, because it's not getting better at all. I'm really sorry to say this, but the smell is really terrible. Even though we fixed the seal and the exit from the toilet into the pipes, something is still amiss there and it's really not working well. So I was asking the guy, he had a quick look for me and he was like, yeah, this is not done correctly at all. They really didn't do a good job here, unfortunately. And he was like, oh, he's a civil engineer, he can totally help me with this. So we quickly drafted a couple of plans to see what we can do better. And he's come up with a couple of ideas. Unfortunately, he has not given me the budget or the cost for this yet, the quote for this yet. So I have to wait until September for that. But, so the big thing coming up for me in September, the first thing that I want to prioritize is getting the septic pipes and system working 100%. And hopefully this fix will do that. But that will probably be like a whole budget, my whole month's budget for renovation just going towards that. But you know what? That's fine. I can live with that because that will make my life incredibly better, like so much better. The other things that I have planned for September, if budget allows, because some of these things are costly and all of these things I will need to buy, is to paint the bedroom out as well. After having painted this room, the paint they used on the walls was incredible. It's a really phenomenal paint. However, the smell is something else. For a whole week, I could barely come into this room because it smells so bad in here. It literally smells like really stinky armpits. And if you ever had a friend or known someone that's gone on the keto diet, the first week of detox, that smell of sweat smells exactly like this room smells for a week, and trust me, it is not pleasant at all. So I had to keep a piece of sheet of plastic to partition this room from where I sleep at night because the fumes were just something else. So if I were to paint that side where my bedroom is, I may probably use the same paint because the paint is just incredible, but I will need to exit this place for at least a week. I can't live with that smell again, that's for sure. And of course, if I have the budget, because the paint was not cheap. I need to also paint the exterior of the walls that were done on the new side that still haven't been painted, because we need to get paint up on the raw cement before the rains come, because cement is porous and of course it will probably draw the water in, which will then eventually lead to mold on the inside, which is not what we want. I also still have to fix the cement on the outside of that bedroom door that they just left completely in holes, I should say. They never did a proper cement underneath the door, so I need to re-cement that. So that's quite a bit of things that I need to try and get done for September. But if I don't get to everything on that list, I do need to fix the cement by the door, and I do need to do the septic tank. So those are my 2 big priorities for September. For October, I want to get a roof up on the 2 storerooms that we removed the asbestos roofing from way back a year ago. It would probably have been a year, because that's the first thing we started doing last year, September, was to remove all the asbestos from the 2 storerooms. So I need to get roofing back on there so that I can start using those rooms again, clearing them out of all the debris that's in there currently in the 2nd storeroom, and so that I can start using the first one to store things that can't necessarily live in the dirty storeroom, because these 2 have floors, whereas the dirty storeroom is just a sand floor, it's ground floor. So things get really, really dirty in there. It's also where the cats live and rats live too. So I can't really put it in there. So roofing, and that's obviously going to be costly. There's 2 ways that I can go about that. Either I try and repurpose the old tiles that came off the roof for that section. I'm not sure if I have enough, and I'm not sure if I have enough of the same size tile, which means that I probably may need to buy more if I don't have enough. Or if I go directly the sandwich panel route, which is going to be a lot more costly, but probably what I want to do in the long run, because one of those storerooms I want to turn into a little wine cellar for me, so that I can start producing wine in the next couple of years myself. In addition to that, I also want to try and get guttering up on this entire structure, and ideally my storerooms as well. When it rains, it literally just runs down the roof, and if you open any doors, you literally just get drenched with all the drips that come down. So it's really unpleasant, and I need to start putting gutters up so that we can get rid of that, we can resolve that, in lieu of not having some kind of pergola outside and some kind of roof on a terrace. Coming to which, something I really want to do in November, because if I can get a pergola up outside this area, just outside my door, in what will in future be a little pergola or courtyard, little terrace as I come out my front door, that will be incredible, because it will also increase my living space and comfort, so that I can also be outside but under cover even when it rains. And then a bunch of other ad hoc things that I've put on my list include, obviously I need to eventually tile this side as well, but the cement floor is in such a good condition that I don't necessarily need to, it doesn't have to be urgent, I don't have to prioritize that. I've got to continue with the mosaic stone trim on the section that has been finished tiling already. I then have to do my kitchen cabinets and create the kitchen. I've already drafted the plans of what I want and how I want to position things and exactly how I'm going to do the kitchen. And I have 2 places in mind that I'm going to ask quotations for building it for me. But of course, this is an expense and this still needs to be done eventually. Again, this is not urgent, and I can take my time to get there. I'll eventually get it done. These old troughs, like the idea that I want to do with those is I'm going to turn them into additional extra seating as well. So I want to make my own seating and create wooden lids, so it will double as a place to sit and also double as storage, so I can actually store stuff in there. I want to create a parking area for obviously my car, and I want to put a pergola up there for like a little carport up as well, so that my car can be a little bit more protected from all the elements, and that I also create a place to store my wood outside, because last year I stored my firewood in my storeroom and it was completely molded first month of winter already. So I need to find a better place to store my wood. Before winter hits, I also need to order a delivery of the fine gravel, I think it is what it is. I've got big gravel storing pieces outside, but they're really cumbersome to walk over and they don't absorb all the water. So what happens is, if there's a lot of rain, the water just pools, but at least I can drive over it and it doesn't turn into mud. Now, if you get that mixed with the fine gravel, I've been told what happens is that it compacts. So every time you walk or drive over it, it literally hardens and hardens and hardens, and it gives you a really nice surface for cars to drive on, so that we don't happen what happened last year and we get stuck in mud and drive trenches into my driveway. And then the last thing on that ad hoc list, which was in no particular order, is to also build my bedroom wardrobe, which again, I have in mind exactly what it is that I want to have done there, but of course it is just the process of creating it, building it, and affixing it to the walls, of course. So all of these things are still on my to-do list for this project, for the inside of this place, and this is of course outside of everything that I still have to do with the agriculture and out there, such as harvesting, cleaning, planting, doing the things that one does on a farm. So there's quite a bit of things on my list, but the 3 big things for me in the next 3 months at least is going to be, or at least before winter comes, will be the septic system and getting that properly done, roofing on my old storerooms, and maybe a even a pergola. That is really nice to have and be incredible for me. Now, to bring you up to date on some of the other logistics that has been happening in the background, as you guys know, I have requested to get connected to mains water. I requested that in December last year. I was approved, or I wasn't approved, but finally someone came to inspect the area to see if I can have it done. That happened in March, and then about a month later I received a notification that it was a yes and I can get connected to mains. It then took about another month or two before they sent me the costs after I said, great, I want to go ahead. I had to submit a bunch of papers, again, complete an application document for them to review. This is the municipality, them, Penamacor municipality. And they've reviewed it, they gave me a cost, I paid the figure, and now I'm just waiting to see when that work gets done. They still need to actually come and lay all the water pipes from this main road. It's not really a main road, but the road in front of my farm, because there's other farms down the road, and one of those farms is quite a big farm that has everything set up. They have water, they have great electricity, all those things. So because they had that done, they actually paid for the big pipeline all the way down this track. So I just have to connect into this big pipeline and bring it up. It's about 300 meters to my water point on my wall. So I'm waiting for that work to happen. Once that happens, of course, what needs to happen is I have to find a competent plumber that can actually replumb all of my water. Thankfully, it's all on the side, so I did kind of future think about that and future proof that whole thing. So I need to get that connected to the mains water. And the reason I want to do that is last year was the biggest drought Portugal has ever seen. We've been having heat wave upon heat wave upon heat wave. Europe is experiencing heat wave on heat wave on heat wave, the worst they've seen in a very long time. This is another year where we've been experiencing high 40s and droughts, heavy droughts during summer. I don't think this is something that's going to get better. So if I can connect myself to mains water, at least I always have a backup. Then I can focus my well water strictly on my agriculture and start doing irrigation on the farm, and then not worry about the water coming into the house, because at least there will always be that, well, you know. The second big logistical thing, of course, as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, was that I applied to get a bigger quota of electrical to the house. At the moment I'm in 3.45 kilowatts on the house, and I've applied for 6.9 kilowatts. I've paid for an inspection. The inspector did come. The inspector said everything is good, everything is fine with the existing cable coming in, everything is set up so the structure can actually process 6.9 kilowatts. And then I got so happy because, yeah, I was approved and all of that. That took a couple of weeks. It took about 3 weeks in total for that process. And then I was really excited because that means I can run a fridge and washing machine and an oven and the air conditioner and get another air conditioner, and I can run this little structure as a proper house. I don't have to put things on and off as I use them. But of course, things never go as smoothly as one expects. And a week later, I received notification from Iredish saying that it is impossible for me to upgrade on an agricultural structure. It's been 2 weeks of that discussion, going back and forth and trying to see what we can do. So we're still in the discussion. We have disclosed everything to the inspector so that we can get his best opinion on how to take matters to the next step and what I can actually do. I'll keep you posted on how that goes, but that's pretty much as far as I've come with that. So there's a lot of things coming up in the pipeline. There's a lot of big things that I want to get done. We're nowhere near close to finishing this, but we're at a point where I feel so much more comfortable in this space, and I'm really happy with the progress being made. It's incredible what just a lick of paint can make you feel in this space. Like, I feel so much better now that there's some paint on the walls and it looks so much nicer in here for me. I really, really do. It's an incredible feeling. But anyway, let's see what the next week brings. It's off to harvest for me. It's grape harvest time. And to boot, we've got another huge heat wave coming starting tomorrow, where we head into the where we head into the 40s again. So it's going to be quite a hectic harvest. But anyway, I'll update you on that next week. Thank you for watching. See you next time.